Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be showing you how I repress my powder makeup products. I have 3 products today that I do need to repress. The first one is this Physicians Formula Healthy Powder. You can see I've used it up to where it's just kind of formed this ring around the edges, and it's getting much more difficult to pick up on a big powder brush, so that is definitely needing to be repressed. Then the light pink shadow in this Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells quad has also gotten to the point where it needs to be repressed. That's the only shadow in this quad that needs to be repressed right now. And finally, I have this e.l.f. Rosewater quad that I haven't hit pan on, but the darkest shade in here started to crumble in the corner there. And I don't know if I maybe just like set it into my drawer too violently or if it fell onto my carpet, I'm not sure. These shadows do break really easily, so it's just something to keep in mind. But anyway, I haven't been able to use this quad for a couple months because this dark shadow has just been making a mess into all the other shades, and it's just a nightmare, so I need to fix that. What you'll need in order to do this is some paper towels, some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. It's best to get the highest percentage that you can find. I usually like to go for the 91%. I think that's typically as high as it goes, but basically the higher percentage, the more quickly it will evaporate. You can use a lower percentage if that's all you have, but it'll just take a little bit longer to dry, but you'll need that. I like to get a little container. This is just a glass container from my kitchen, or like a ramekin, anything like that. You just want it to be kind of smooth on the inside. You don't want it to have any ridges or anything. You'll need some kind of sharp tool to crush up the powder. I actually like to use this nail tool. I don't even know where this came from. I think it came from like a manicure set a long time ago. I don't even use it for my nails. I just use it for repressing, but it has this kind of pointy end that I think is normally used to like trim your cuticles. You basically just need something sharp enough to be able to crush up the powder into basically a finely milled loose powder. This other end is kind of this rubberized angled plastic tip. I think it's meant for like pushing back your cuticles, but it actually is really helpful for just spreading out the product back into the pan. If you don't have this kind of a tool, you could also use a pair of tweezers. You could even use like a paring knife or butter knife, anything like that. And then you'll need something flat to press the powder back down into the pan. So all the pans that I'm repressing today are square. Actually, this one is kind of like a parallelogram. I just went ahead and got some liquid lipsticks that have like a flat square end. But if you're repressing into a round pan, you could also use really just anything around your house. This is like an old face cream. It has a nice flat round surface. Also, this is just like a little lid that goes onto a setting spray bottle, but it's nice and flat. Anything that's completely flat, you wouldn't want something like this end of the liquid lipstick has kind of like a divot to it. You wouldn't want that. You would want something perfectly flat. So those are all the tools that you are going to need, at least the way that I do it. So let's go ahead and start with the Physicians Formula powder. So I'm going to start out by, it's going to feel crazy if this is the first time you've done it, but I'm going to just start crushing up the powder. It feels like you're like destroying it. It's actually very fun and satisfying. But just go ahead and scrape it away from the edges of the pan, and then it will take some time, but just start crushing it up until it turns into what basically looks like a loose powder. And what I like to do so that I don't make a huge mess is go ahead and dump this into my little ramekin. And then you could also use this flat tip to kind of just make sure you're scraping it all out of there. Yeah, if you have a nail tool like this, it's honestly so helpful for repressing. I use it every single time. Just feel like nothing quite compares to it. So now that it's all in there, I can just kind of go to town. I don't have to worry about it spilling everywhere. And if you can't get it into like a perfectly milled loose powder, it's okay. Just get it as finely crushed up as you can. So now on to the next step. We're gonna take that isopropyl alcohol, and this is the part where you wanna be really, really careful not to pour too much alcohol in there, because if you do, that's where you can completely ruin the powder. This one has a nice small opening, so I'm not going to just completely dump it in, but I'm just going to start with like 2 drops and see. Probably going to need more than that, but this is where I'm going to use that more plasticky end. Yeah, definitely going to need more than that. I'm going to do just a tiny bit more. So you want to turn it into not a liquid, but just a nice paste. Yeah, we're still going to need a little bit more. You just want to do little by little so that you don't go overboard. Yeah, that should be perfect. So you're just going to kind of stir it up until it is all in one kind of blob of paste. Then you're going to take that and put it right back into the original pan. And this is where it might be helpful to have a second tool, like maybe a butter knife. I'm just going to use my tweezers here to scrape off everything that's kind of sticking to this tip here. And now I'm going to use this flat plastic end again and spread it out. Now for a product like this where I have used up a lot of it and it's pretty much almost gone, I'm actually going to keep the powder kind of just in the center of the pan. I'm not going to spread it all the way out. That way it'll be easier to use up every last bit and I won't end up in the same predicament where I have product stuck along the sides again. So next I'm going to take a sheet of that paper towel and I'm going to start pressing. I am going to just use this lid here. So you're basically pressing out the alcohol. And you want to press on it pretty firmly. If you don't press it firm enough, you'll end up with it just being too loose and powdery. If you press too hard, then it might be too hard packed and not as usable. So I'm just going to keep pressing it until you see how it's soaking up that alcohol. I'm just going to keep pressing it until I'm not really seeing a whole lot of alcohol on the paper towel. So that time I really didn't get much liquid, and that is pretty much the final product. So now what I'm going to do is leave this sitting out open and let it evaporate probably overnight. It'll probably be dry within the next couple of hours, but I just like to let it sit overnight just to be safe. But I'm just going to press it a little bit with my fingers one last time. You know, every product is different. You might find that different formulas repress differently, but I'm hoping that this will stay firmly packed and that it won't like crumble along the edges. So now as we move on to the next product, I'm just going to take that paper towel and just kind of wipe clean the tools that I used so that they are ready for a new product. So moving on to this Wet n Wild shadow, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and do it into here so that I'm not getting a ton of that powder into the other pans. This is a nice soft formula, so this shouldn't be too hard. So for this one, I did make the paste a little bit runnier than the other one, so this should work. Yeah, that's actually the perfect size. So you can see that one actually didn't even end up spreading out across the whole pan, so I did just kind of keep it in the center. Hopefully it'll stay together and not, you know, crumble along the edges again, but I think it should be fine. All right, now for this super scary dark one. First I'm just gonna dump all of the loose dust into there. Oh, look at how much it crumbled just then. I do not know. Oh my gosh, it's all just breaking into there. All right. Everything else I'm just going to, wow, that came out so easily, dang. You'll notice I saved the darkest one for last. This is crushing up so quickly and easily. It's just such a soft powdery shadow. So I may have put just a little bit too much alcohol in here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of keep stirring it until it just thickens a little bit. Luckily it's still holding its shape. If you have put so much in that it's like runny and liquidy, that's when you know you're probably in trouble. If that does happen, you can kind of very slowly try to absorb that liquid with your paper towel. You can't always save it. You know, you're probably at some point or another in your repressing projects going to ruin at least one powder. It's just kind of part of the learning process, but I mean, it happens. I think this one is going to be fine. So from here, just going to start to paint it back into the pan. And this one I do want it to cover the entire pan, just because it was basically full to begin with. I don't think I've ever repressed something this dark before, because I hardly ever use up shadows this color. So because I want it to completely coat the whole pan, I'm just going to spread it out. This is super messy so far, but that's okay. I'm going to slowly kind of press it with my fingers first, just to get it all spread out nicely. Clean up those edges a bit. Yeah, this liquid lipstick ended up being perfect for this. Actually, I may use, this one may even be better. That's actually about, oh yeah, this one's perfect because it's actually like the same width. So the paper towel is soaking up some of the powder, but I think it's just because it's so dark that it's, you know, the alcohol is kind of taking some of it with it, but that's okay because 99% of it is staying in there. So, and I'm definitely pressing this one down pretty hard because I don't want it to crumble again. I want it to stay nice and hard pressed. I'm actually going to take some Scotch tape, this has cat hair in it, classic, to lift up any of the dark shadow that kind of got stuck in these lighter shadows, because there's like a layer of dark purple dust in these. This is also the technique that I use to remove hard pan from products, by the way. Works like a charm. All right, and there we have it. That dark shade looks good as new. All right, so that is how I repress my powder products. I did show 3 very different shape and size pans here, so hopefully gave you a good overview of how to do this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. But I hope this helped. If you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you again very soon, and hopefully I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.